Welcome to Sunkworks. I'm here talking to myself. We're live. We've done our sound check now, or at least our first sound check. We have, let's see. This is the S3 Buckets episode. I'm not going to talk that much because if you've ever read the show notes, there's not supposed to be narration on this stream. I set that up like on purpose as a premise of, or like a structure for the show. You would just watch what I'm doing. But I do want to give you some context here so that it's not a complete mystery to people who might actually tune in. But like I said, I'm going to do my best to ignore you if you do tune in, unless you can find a way to get me a message, which I don't have my phone on me. I am going to turn on focus mode and clock in for recording here. I'm clocking in again for no particular reason because I don't have a contract right now. Hint, hint. Anyone who is really interested in a Flux expert on your team, now would be a good time to contact me, or in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully I set that up well. All right, so we've got our Timular tracker is connected. I have been recording for 2 minutes and 48 seconds, so we're going to give ourselves an extra 3 minutes on the clock here. 14:28. Great. So this is the S3 bucket episode, and in the show notes I said we need an S3 bucket for some reason. We don't... actually, also, I mentioned that I got some Taco Bell here, and I apologize, I didn't bring enough for the class, but I got one of these flatbread things that's definitely not going to be good later, so that's extra incentive for me to get the discussion over with and shut up and get on with the screen stuff, right? So we've talked a little bit in the past about Urbit on this show. We're going to pretend today that I've never seen Urbit before, and we're going to go through, not first, of course. We mentioned the S3 bucket. So to set it up a little bit more completely, I said, don't ask why we need an S3 bucket, but we will find out when we go through the Urbit documentation that an S3 bucket is a necessary part of your experience. And depending on how you use Urbit, you may or may not, actually have to know that. That's an implementation detail for your hosting provider. I don't know if there's such a thing as an Urbit hosting provider, but we'll probably find out when we're going through the docs. So we're going to set up an S3 bucket, so we've got one when we need it, when we get to that. And there's a couple of other things in the title. We've got Shrubbery, Kinode. I mentioned Shrubbery because a lot of people who I think are brilliant people, a lot of people who I have confidence in their decision making and really strongly value their contribution to tech. A lot of people are telling me that Shrubbery is a thing that I should pay attention to. Something about spreadsheets and Hoon, I don't know. All these things are foreign concepts to me, right? Because I've never seen Urbit before. So we're going to dive right in as soon as I'm done with this taco. Maybe a few minutes after, actually, because we still have to have the intro song here. What else we need? But we're gonna dive into all that stuff. We're gonna try an S3 bucket, set it up on Kubernetes, and the part of the premise is we want to be able to do this, whatever this is. Excuse me. We want to be able to do this inside of Kubernetes cluster. So it might be a kind cluster that we run in CI, and this is actually part of our premise too. Whatever it is we're building to host files on, right? That's what an S3 bucket is for. You put files in there and then you can retrieve them. And this actually has nothing to do with the recent controversy around Amazon S3 buckets. If you heard about charging for unauthorized 403s or something like that. I heard that was a thing, but that has nothing to do with the reason why we're thinking about offboarding an S3 bucket from actually Google Cloud. So we've got here one of these emails. Yeah, it's not from Amazon though. We got an email from Google, and we get this email. I think I've also been getting this email from Azure, right? I've had all of the cloud services on at one time or another, and some of them for work reasons, and some of them for things that I could easily stand up and tear down, but not always with Terraform, especially given the controversy around Terraform. I'm sure you can understand why that might not be a thing that we would do every time. You might want to think about Terraform sometimes, and another option other times. All right, so I've already said way more than I wanted to say in the entire episode. I said I was going to pretend that I did not know what Urbit was. There's one thing I'm going to mention that I'm going to make an exception, or at least I will try to make an exception. So I'm going to bring with me my understanding or preconceived idea about how slow Urbit is. So if you're a first-time Urbit user, or if you've never used Urbit, if you're seeing this stuff for the first time, and if you're in disbelief at how slow it is, I'm going to, I have suspended my disbelief already about how slow it is. It's not a surprise for me anymore. So I'm not going to feign surprise at how slow it is. If you see me reacting in disbelief to how slow it is, these are genuine reactions, after already having used Urbit for a while. But other than that, we're not going to talk about much at all. I'm going to try to avoid talking at all. We can look at the show notes one more time here before we really dive into the music. Where am I here? Over here. So these are the show notes. I haven't decided if we're going to do our experiment today on Talos Linux. We may use, excuse me. Let me pull this over where you can definitely read it. We may use, instead of Talos Linux, we may just go ahead for Kind cluster today, because I saw some things about Kind. But there's another option. We may skip a lot of this and just go ahead and do our upgrade of the vCluster CAPI provider, because I don't know how to do that yet. But I think that we can avoid using Kind if we use vCluster instead. So I'm really happy about the news about Loft, about vCluster CAPI provider, that they're going to continue to support it, and that they are not going to deprecate it. They never officially announced the deprecation. I know there was some discussion in the Slack channel for vCluster that it might be deprecated, but as far as I know, that's been reversed. They are actually going to support it in the future as an alternative to vCluster Pro. But if you're using it for a business purpose, you should definitely consider forking out the money for vCluster Pro, because anytime you use software for a business purpose, you want that business to stay in business. Cheers to Loft for all the good work you've done in the community so far. I'm a big fan of Loft. I have been for a long time. And I'm going to probably look at the vCluster CAPI provider today. And we're not using Minio today. We're going to use Garage, because I haven't really heard great things about Minio. I don't want to neg anyone. I'm not trying to say that Minio is a bad actor. I don't know. This is exactly how you don't set up discussion if you're not an engineer. But if you're like a nerd like I am, you can't avoid saying these things that are in the back of your head, even if you don't think them, right? This is just how I am. I'm sorry, folks. I'm very bad at getting the point across concisely without diversion. I will take you everywhere I did not want to go first. It's just in my nature. So if you've never worked with me before, if you've never seen me do this, you probably, who am I kidding? There's no one tuning in, and it's not going to be. All right, so I also don't want to do the self-deprecating thing. I believe you might tune in today. But I think you're probably more likely to do so if I just shut up and get on with what I was going to do. So we've got to get some music. We got to tend to the agenda. We got to turn off the microphone and just get on with it. But first, some music here.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue, we're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Hey there, Mr. Blue, we're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky. Mr. Blue, you did it right, but soon comes Mr. Night, creeping over. Now his hand is on your shoulder. Never mind, I remember you this way. Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue, we're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you.
That was lovely. Thank you very much, Pamplemousse. So there's a few more things to set up, housekeeping, before we do dive right in. Let me see. What are they? I want to monitor all the channels where you might be trying to reach me. So there's radio, right? You can talk to me here. I might see it. All of these are best effort. I'm going to do my best actually to ignore you, but like I said, I've actually advertised this time, so if you want to banter, then there's also banter here. Excuse me, or at least potential for banter. And one more thing I have to make sure I'm monitoring is this one here. We don't need to see the live stream, do we? It says it's live, but I don't see anything. I'm not sure if that means we're actually not streaming. We've failed. We've failed. Why? Hold on. Try again. We've already seen it streaming, so I know that can't be correct. It says excellent connection. Okay, there we are. It is really streaming. That's good. And I just wanted this one so that I can monitor for the copyright strike that we're inevitably going to get, because I'm not going to be talking, right? I'm going to be playing music, and that's how I will ensure that I'm not talking at you. So I might need a break before we go. The other thing I really want to housekeeping is I'm going to try to do this consistently in the future now. Number one, I've got a ring light that's coming. We don't have the best lighting, but today it seems to be okay in here for the green screen. The green and yellow parts, you'll have to cope with. I think I can live with that. It's not too distracting as long as it's not on my screen while I am working. I'm going to try to be conscious of biorhythms and blood sugar when I am scheduling these streams. I think the reason why the last couple of streams have been so poor, and I apologize if you've been watching, if you've been following along, I've been very low energy. It's partly because I don't think that I'm sick, but it could be sick, maybe. But what I think it really is just poor biorhythm management. I think I'm going up to stream at the wrong time of day, after too many cups of coffee and not enough water, or I haven't eaten something and I should eat before I go on the stream, or I want to give you all the best of me. I want to make sure that if you're tuning in, you're not seeing the bottom dregs of Kingdom. So I'm going to do my best to actually be conscious of that stuff when I'm setting up these streams and the timing. So with that in mind, I did go to the park with my dog right before this stream and got Taco Bell, which may have been a good or bad decision. We'll find out, but so far so good. And I think we chose wisely on the music. That song definitely boosted me up a little bit. I think we want to find something like that. Maybe. Oh, all right. Is this a playlist? Oh, Yeah. So. All right. So, targets. One other thing we're going to do, we're going to set a timer. I'm going to try to remember what tool I was using. Was a really nice, this might have been it, focus to do. Definitely not the same tool. Oh, well, we might have to cope with whatever we can find here. What is this marinara? Whoa! That's kind of neat. I wanted something with a checklist. I know that we have used in the past a Chrome extension for this, but I don't know if it's installed here. I might need to take a dip through my extensions and see what stuff we got here. Or it's just not installed anymore. I thought it was called To-Do Timer. Maybe that was it. To-Do Timer. No, that's not it. Focus To-Do. 11 best Chrome extensions for productivity. Clockify. I don't know. I mean, I just wanted to have a setup so we can proceed orderly from the first thing we intended to do to the next, and, you know, check in every 15 or 20 minutes to see if we actually did any of that stuff. So we don't get too far without making actual progress. Was it called Focus Time? Focus Timer? This looks almost like what I recall, but not the same. Well, what about auto? Ooh, and website blocker. That sounds kind of neat. Loved by 60,000 people. Yeah. I think the key ingredient here is actually to block the websites you don't want to go to. Like, if I open up Twitter on the stream, I'm totally hosed. Oh, look at that. Shrubbery right there. That's cool. Yeah, I think you should definitely sign up for Hoon Academy. But why would I think that? I've never seen Urbit before. I have no idea what that is. All right, let's see here. So I was going to say one of the key ingredients is we have to make sure that those sites are not going to be on our stream. How are we going to avoid them? We're going to block them at the domain level, so if we should randomly happen upon a link to one of those, we just won't be able to read it, and we'll have to come back to that another time. Music! All right. Music, music, music. What other songs are we going to play now? How about this one?
Stronger, more than hour, never. Ever after work is over. Work it, make it, do it, makes us. it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, make us more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Make it better, do it faster. Our work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work is never over. Our work is never over, 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 over. Work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, more than ever. Hour after hour, work is never
So one of the other things I'm doing here is actually I want to make sure that we don't get a copyright strike if we're watching. So maybe if we stick to Pamplemousse, we won't get a copyright strike. I would really like it if you didn't have a gap in the video or audio if you're watching this after the fact. And I know that sometimes we get a copyright strike and I have to take out the audio from a part. And that would surely be much worse if I actually were saying something worthwhile that you wanted to hear. Right? So the no narration episode is probably the best one to get a copyright strike. But still, I think dead air is probably not ideal. So, oh, what's that? Someone has disturbed my dog. So I'm going to just try one of these playlists. Hopefully we can listen to this and it won't get us a copyright strike. I don't monetize the channel here. If you're getting ads, it's not my fault. I don't know what year I want here, but in French sounds good. Why don't we listen to in French? I like that. Yes, we've got our beret, our Jamaican Kingston beret here. I think that's what I'm going to call this. It's the Kingston beret here. If you want to see what does it look like without the green screen, this is probably here. It's a nice hat. It's a nice hat. I like it. Better than the one that got shit on by the bird. I still have that hat, but it was already wearing out. So thanks French Pigeon. Where are we barking? Dog is barking at someone. I gotta go check.
Je n'avais jamais ôté mon chapeau devant personne. Maintenant je rampe et je fais le beau quand elle me sonne. J'étais chien méchant, elle me fait manger dans sa menette. J'avais des dents de loup, je les ai changées pour des quenottes. Je me suis fait tout petit devant une poupée qui ferme les yeux quand on la couche. Je me suis fait tout petit devant une poupée qui fait maman quand on la touche. J'étais dure à cuire, elle m'a converti, la fine mouche. Et je suis tombée tout chaud, tout rôti contre sa bouche, qui a des dents de lait quand elle sourit, quand elle chante, et des dents de loup quand elle est furie, qu'elle est méchante. Je me suis fait tout petit devant une poupée qui ferme les yeux quand on la couche. Je me suis fait tout petit devant une poupée qui fait maman quand on la touche. Tous les somnambules, tous les mages m'ont dit sans malice, quand ses bras en croix, je subirai mon dernier supplice. Il en est de pire, il en est de meilleur, mais à tout prendre, qu'on se pende ici, qu'on se pende, s'il faut se pendre. Je suis fait tout petit devant une poupée qui fait maman quand on la touche.
It's harder than I thought for me to remember the music is for me, not for you. But I would like to be able to switch from one screen to the other without fucking up the sound channels. Let me see if I can figure that out here. So this is the full screen cam. We've got an audio source. That's the wrong... Here we go. Can I get... Wait, I don't want... that one. Okay. And does it actually function as an audio source, or... Wait a minute.
Georges Brassens, ça. Non, ce n'était pas le radeau de la méduse, ce bateau, qu'on se le dise au fond des ports, dise au fond des ports. Il naviguait en père peinard sur la grand-mare des canards et s'appelait les copains d'abord, les copains d'abord. Ces fluctuates mergitures, c'était pas de la littérature, n'en déplaise. Et ces matelots n'étaient pas des enfants de salauds. Copains d'abord. C'était pas des amis de luxe, des petits castors et pollux, des gens de Sodome et Gomorre, Sodome et Gomorre. C'était pas des amis choisis par Montaigne et la Boétie. Sur le ventre ils se tapaient fort, les copains d'abord.
too many different audio sources. I'm gonna have to stay. Alright, I think I got it.
Naviguer en père peinard sur la grande mare des canards. Ils appelaient les copains d'abord, les copains d'abord, oui. Ils appelaient les copains d'abord, les copains d'abord. Ils appelaient les copains d'abord, les copains d'abord. Très vite.
Saying I think I have too many different audio sources for me to be able to just freely switch from one to the other. I don't know if it's okay for me to turn the mic on. I would like to come back to this and see if I really fucked up the audio by doing that, or can I be heard, or do I have to turn it down? But those are questions for another episode.
Dans tes grands yeux noirs, je me suis perdue. J'attends un regard, le cœur suspendu. Je t'aime tellement fort, toi qui me fais peur. Est-ce un mauvais sort ou la mauvaise heure? Et autour de nous chantent les tziganes. Tout le monde s'en fout, s'enivre au champagne. Dans tes beaux yeux noirs, je sombre mon amour et mon désespoir. Alors chant est sourd. Je perds la raison à chercher tes bras, brûlant de passion. Viens, embrasse-moi de tes grands yeux noirs, l'étrange lumière à nimber le soir de tous les mystères. Chut, chut. Ouais. Alors chut. Le coquelicot. J'en fais trop. Je trouve pas les mots. Le coquelicot, il m'a tout dit, alors chut.
Here, except for this time right now, we're going to pretend that we don't know what Urbit is, because we happen to have Urbit running already here. And I think that's why this machine is so slow. We can look at top to see if it says anything. I'm not sure if it is so slow or if there's just that much behind. I didn't realize here. Let's see. We've got Homebrew installed on here, but Homebrew doesn't appear to be a way to install Garage from source. So there's a Garage CLI, which may be the server and it may be the interface to the server for the user. I'm not sure. I am sure there is a web interface. I think I saw somewhere there's a web front end address and you can forward from, right, S3 API, S3 web. So there's multiple interfaces. Here we got 3900, 3902. We've got RPC on 3901 and RPC secret. K2V API. I'm not sure what K2V is. I haven't read any of these docs either, so I genuinely don't know what Garage is, other than I know it is an S3 server, and I know that I'm going to need one of those. I'm not going to question that at all. I'm also going to probably not question so much. Well, I'm not sure, because this is not an episode that's just about Urbit, right? It's about Shrubbery. It's about Kinode. It's about other things. It's like a cooking show, but we don't know what we're making yet. Yeah. But we know we're going to need some of this cloud storage, right? Because we've been around the block, so we know that reasonable systems are built to enable you to work with such distributed storage backend so that you can have resilient systems, right? Instead of having to depend on a file system that you can mount directly from a local persistent disk, like a hard drive or an SSD, from a singular disk, with no checksumming or integrity or resilience built into it. Not like a array, like a RAID 5 or RAID 6, RAID 10, or even RAID 0. Right, RAID 0 is not redundant, if you know about RAIDs. So what I read so far in the docs here, I did skip ahead a little bit. I read that there is an initial setup that they want you to do, since you've never used Garage before, so you shouldn't really have any strongly your misconceptions. They need to still figure out what you think you are going to get Garage to do, and if it's actually what Garage does, or if there's some kind of mismatch. So they want you to know how to interact with it, bottom line, first, so you get the right idea. And then, beyond that, you are going to want to configure a multi-node cluster so that you have resilience, so that one machine going down isn't the end of you. But of course there's multiple ways to get that type of resilience. one machine going down being the end of U. Well, that would only be true if we had a service level that required, what do you call that? Guaranteed, I don't know. One of those things on the SLO list. Guaranteed one of those things. Google site reliability fundamentals. They've got one of those nice books. You can read the book. Yeah, durability. I think that's what I want. The property that when your rights are rights, when they're accepted, they are not going to disappear, which I'm still not completely clear about how you measure such a thing. I know that the book goes into some detail about it, among other things, but right, we have different systems that have different service levels. If I click save on my blog post, I have a different kind of expectation. Well, first of all, I wouldn't click save. I don't deploy my blog with ClickOps. I don't want a user interface. WordPress kind of trained us all bad. WordPress it's a blog. It's a content host. But it has a database. It has all these difficult to manage requirements, when really all of the content could be stored in a very highly available, resilient system with good durability, where the likelihood of a write being lost is so minuscule that in practice it actually never happens. If you've read the SLO book, you have to understand that what I just said is completely backwards and upside down. You don't actually think about writes never ever going through. Like, you don't actually there will be some loss at some point, because it's very expensive to guarantee no loss. But I don't know. I have to read this book again. I don't want to try to talk. I'm still talking. So we're going to listen to music. Let's get going again. All right, so that's our little check-in here. So we're going to download some Rust tools to our Debian machine because a Fedora machine wasn't going to do it. We have a Fedora machine already here, but I guess we need the Debian machine for this. Let's see. I would like to get rid of these machines one day, but I think it's not going to be that easy. So we've got these machines with particular roles. Right, this one Mu here used to be the file server. I think if I look at all of the machines that I have in my cluster, I look at that one, and it is the most OP for storage. It has the most storage. So I imagine that's where I would have kept my garage server before. And we may put it there again this time. I think that, so they did tell us we should install on multiple machines here. If we want really resilient, we have to have at least 3 nodes. And we know that number 3, 3 is ideally 5, and 5 is ideally 9. But why 3, 5, 9? Why any of those numbers? For consensus, for if you're not really super familiar with these concepts, there's a Raft consensus where if you want to be able to guarantee a write, you need to make sure that write is committed in multiple locations, because the worst case scenario that you insure against is you have that write, it gets saved to a disk, and then that disk is vaporized from Orbit, right? Like something happens, that disk is no more, and that write is gone. And chalk it up to your SLO. You said you right? You had some tolerance for files going away, because, all right, if you haven't read the book, it's about a negotiation that happens between your, let's say, your CTO and the people that work under him, or the SREs help couch expectations so you can make the right guarantees to your customers. Right, so we want to be able to say that your rights are safe. Who's we? I don't know. Whoever needs this garage S3 bucket. We said it was us, right? But what do we need it for is a really valid question, especially when you want to talk about failure modes. So we may have some failure modes that are pre-programmed, that are expected conditions, right? We said in the show notes we wanted a S3 bucket that we could easily provision and easily destroy, as well as easily replicate and easily back up. Did we say backup? Well, if we didn't say backup, throw that one on the pile. We want to be able to look at the contents of the S3 bucket at a point in time and say it's backed up. So the Raft consensus, the way this works in practice, if you have really big files or files that are very high throughput, right? It's not always a file that gets written at a point in time and snapshotted and then, saved in it's never shall be edited. Sometimes it's a disk image that runs a virtual machine, and the virtual machine is active and actually writing to the disk all the time. So we can't always have the types of guarantees that we want. We can't say, oh, you can restore this disk to the condition it was in at any point in time, because that might be an inconsistent condition. And we can't guarantee that we'll restore that condition because we won't have a valid snapshot of it. So all that stuff aside, we want to post memes. We want our memes to be hosted, and we want our memes to be cacheable, right? So we want to be able to take our memes. Really, this is all we use the computer for. This is the only thing that matters. We want our memes to be served. We want them to be fast. If it takes more than a fraction of a second for the meme to load, they're going to have scrolled on to the next meme already. So we have to have our meme server highly available, and we have to have, even in the event that, all those numbers, 3, 5, 9, they all have one thing in common. They're each a number, like a specific number. We didn't say from 3 to 9. So, yeah, they're odd numbers for one. We excluded 7 for some reason, and actually there's no reason. 7 is a fine number as far as I'm concerned. The important thing is that it is an odd number, for one thing, because odd numbers decompose better in failure scenario. So when one of these machines goes down, you know just how many you have left. I'm not sure how to explain this. Let's see. So Raft, let's say you have 3 nodes. Yeah, let's start with 3 and work our way up to good, better, best. So we have 3 nodes that all have a copy of our file, and we've got 1,000 files actually that are all replicated across the 3 nodes. So one of the nodes goes down and it's not coming back. So we've decided it's time to replace that node, because we did settle on a particular number of nodes, 3 nodes. And if we have less than that, then we need another one. That's so an automated system is going to take care of that for us, seeing that one of the nodes is gone at this point. This is already past tense. It has gone. It's not coming back. So we take our 3 nodes. One of them is new, doesn't have any of our data on it. We've got 2 nodes left that both have a copy of our data. So we can, 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 we have something nice here. So we know this is associated with a production service. It has to remain online. We also have to take our empty node and populate it with all 1,000 of the files, right? Not just the one file that we're interested in, but all the files that were lost when that third node was gone. So what we do is we take the files, we start copying them from, we divide the nodes in two. One of them is going to be the leader, and the other one is the follower, I guess. And so one of those roles will be responsible for serving the production traffic, which is the public-facing traffic, and that node is going to get bogged down now because it's responsible for all the production traffic, hypothetically. Or the other node is going to get bogged down because it is responsible for serving all of the files to the tertiary node, the second follower. And as files get updated at the top, they also have to flow down through from the top to the middle and then the third node, or in whatever order they should happen. Maybe the top is directly responsible for serving to both nodes. But we should start to understand that the number of nodes has an impact on the load, right? So if there's only 3 nodes and then there's 2 nodes, the capacity to serve load from the data source has gone down by 50%. And now it's gone down by another 50% because one of those is occupied. It needs to serve the data as quickly as possible to the third source. So this is the scenario that your SRE is most afraid of, because there is a risk that another node goes down in the middle of this. And what would that mean? It might mean a total loss of the data that was replicated on those 3 nodes. Or it might mean that we have to stop the production service and emergency replicate the data from the one remaining node to 2 additional nodes so that the SLO can be maintained, that durability SLO. So we sacrifice one SLO for another, right? That's a possibility. Okay, so let's back up and say we had 5 nodes now. So what does it mean if we lose one single node? Well, we're not losing 50% of the capacity anymore, or 30%, or whichever. We're not losing 60% of the capacity. Surely we might lose 20% of the capacity of the cluster, and then another 20% is sacrificed to. So we still have at least 60% of the load-bearing capacity of the cluster to work with production workloads other than the restore operation. So that's why 5 is so much better than 3, because you can have that scenario where a node goes away and it's automatically replicated and it doesn't have an impact on performance and production, and it doesn't need to wake anyone necessarily, right? Because it might just be over in a minute. It might, right? It's even better than what I said, because if we don't have a lot of load on our production user public-facing services, we can use the fact that we still have multiple followers that are up to date to populate our one missing node that needs to be repopulated. So potentially, if that node can write very fast and the other nodes can read very fast, then we can have that node repopulated in a third of the time, while we still maintain a better performance story than we had in a previous iteration, right? And if we go up to 9 or 7, the story is much the same, right? It only gets better until it starts getting worse again, and there is a point at which it would get worse because keeping all the followers up to date produces additional load, and the load is like a cascade. So at some point, like 15 and 35, right, you're definitely going to see you don't need that many copies is what you see. So now you just have more nodes and the number of copies is lower. So again, it is better, right? But we don't need to increase the number of leaders. And this is how etcd works. This is how etcd talk about etcd and raft consensus. Of course, the reason why they're odd numbers is because if we lose one node, No, I can't really tell if this is working or not. So if we lose one of our 8 workers, we have 7 workers left. How do we? It matters, right? Whether the one we lost is the leader or one of the followers. It matters, because the leader may have been uh, ahead of all the followers, or I'm not sure. Like, how does the write fall through from one to the next, and at what point is it committed? How many copies do we need before we can say the write is committed? Because we have the option, as long as we still have them on the line, when we receive a write from a user, we have the option of telling them that it didn't go through and they should try again. And that's an escape hatch for our SLO. If we know that the leader is down and the write is incomplete, we can tell anyone who's still in the process of writing that their write was incomplete and that they need to retry. And then when they try again, they'll get our new leader, who will take the write and commit it for them, and we'll hopefully have another copy before. So right, we can wait. I don't know how these algorithms work under the hood. I'm talking like I know how they work, but I've only guessed at how they might work. I've used some of these things. It does look like we're back to normal frame rate. I hope that wasn't too bad. So, all right, so we're going to compile Garage, like they said to do here, because I think we might need some of these things that they said it's not compiled with. I don't remember. Binary packages. Here we go. So Alpine Linux is without Kubernetes discovery. I don't understand what that means, but we might need that. And I don't see that any of these other options for binaries are available to us. But we could also just download the binary from their website, I think, right? Do they have on GitHub? Did we already see that it only had Linux binaries? And that's fine because we're on a Linux machine here. We might not actually need to compile anything. Let's see. Deux fleurs. I think that means 2 flowers. Not 2 rivers. Fleuve. Ooh, is this a GitLab instance? Wait, is this... Oh, it's Git. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who uses Git in production. Good show. Powered by Forge Joe. Does that mean we have a release artifact? Downloads. No, we just have source code. All right, I guess we're compiling it. So we got Rust and Cargo. We've got Build Essential, I'm pretty sure. Building from source from Git. So we are going to deploy it on Kubernetes at some point here. Let's take a look at those instructions because we might start with that. But I think we're still going to need that CLI. Yeah, we've got a Helm chart. Ah, cool. Default options or custom values. Okay, so it doesn't say much about the default options. Creating a cluster layout must be configured manually. Use the following command to access Garage CLI, Garage status. Garage replication mode. Here we go. So this is what I was talking about. How many replicas do you want per object? It's not necessarily the same answer as how many nodes you have. And the more nodes you have, the more you can, you can spread objects across nodes. But probably you want to keep most of the objects in the same bucket, in the same zone, at least, if not on the same node. They have a whole bunch of docs here for explaining how this works. Oh, there's a CRD. Garage nodes. Okay, so that's how the configuration is done, I guess. So let's look at this Helm chart here. All right, it's in our that looks like a chart to me. Garage Helm 3 chart. Doc book cookbook kubernetes.md. All right, so we are looking at the doc. We're going to look at their default values because we want to know if we can just install Garage on our existing Talos cluster and get a reasonable single node cluster. We don't need to advertise any guarantees about how available and how durable the data will be. We're not making a public service yet. I don't think there are any public services besides the request, the receiver, the Flux receiver on our Talos cluster yet. But I would really like to be able to take these 3 workstations, MSI, HP, 2, and Mu, and add them all back to the Talos cluster so they can all participate. And I just don't know what that means for the restore story yet, right? I know that the machines that I can SSH into, well, they all keep their storage in opt local path provisioner. So if one of those nodes is going down and I know it's happening, or if I am keen and I want to do my due diligence on a regular basis and just keep backups at least so that I have a point in time, if not guaranteed consistent backup, well, I can take a backup of opt local path provisioner and then tear that node down. And I can cordon the node before I do the backup so that I know that it's not going to receive any more writes, so that I can take, these are all local path or local storage. And I think there are different local storage contexts in Kubernetes that I just don't know enough about. But the characteristic of these kinds of storage is that they're not replicated, not in their day-to-day life cycle. They could be replicated at any point in time, but they're a single mount read write once semantic. So there's only one connected reader writer at any time, whoever mounts it as a persistent volume, and it needs to be from the same node. It needs to be a process that's in a container that's scheduled on that same node. It can't be a different node that maps that if you've used VMware, this is one of the features that I miss, actually, that I like to get back to, and I'm sure that it's possible to build, where you actually, if you do the performance testing, you might think that if you had the disk locally, that you would get the best performance. But actually, in certain cases, when you set your network up to be really high throughput, then you can get better performance by combining the throughput of multiple remotes and just using the network to the fullest capacity. So right, you can have a setup where I've got 4 remote replicas, 1 local replica. I will just ignore the local replica and keep it up to date. As writes come in, I'll forward them to my local replica, but I will do all of my reads from the remotes, 100% of my reads. So we can do that kind of replicas default. We can documentation to see if it's actually. Yeah. So quorum is what I'm talking about. I've been using this concept, and I have avoided the term because I'm uneducated and I don't know what I'm talking about. But no, I'm not. Quorum is if you have quorum that says multiple, a majority of the cluster nodes have the write, then you know that the write is good, and then you can announce to the writer that their write is successful. That's how you do it. If you don't have quorum, then you can't do writes. And quorum could be lost if a majority of the nodes were down. The reason that you do this in a raft consensus algorithm is because if you have a partition, you might believe that 5 out of 9 of the nodes are down, when in reality you're just experiencing a partition. And to the folks on the other side of the partition, those 5 nodes are fine. But on your side of the partition, they're gone. And on your side of the partition, our 4 nodes are still here. So when you find yourself in that circumstance and you're a cluster, you have to the 4 nodes check in with each other and they say, hey, do we have quorum? They say, no, we don't have quorum. So they all go into read-only emergency mode, where they say, well, we don't know if we have all the writes. Someone might have said to the users that the writes are completed, but we don't have all the writes. We know that we don't have quorum. We're not, the leader isn't here. So we're on this side of the partition, so we can't really say that quorum has been lost, but we know that we're not in it. That's how this works. So anyway, if we just have one machine, this simplifies things pretty drastically, except for the recovery case. So as long as we don't use, as long as this is just memes that we know are going to be stored somewhere else, then it's not such a big deal for us to lose them. Especially if well, maybe this is the one hosted copy of the meme, right? But not today. We're just going to do an example. We want this one here. All right. This is great. They've got some really nice documentation here. I'm going to read it in a little bit more detail off the stream. I think I am actually running out of time. I didn't give myself as much time as I wanted. But hopefully you get the idea. I'm probably going to do the garage installation off stream. The next time you see me, I will have my S3 bucket, and we'll have our face-off. I don't know if we're really going to do that. We're going to try to I wanted to try to install all 3 of those things. Shrubbery, Kinode, and I think there was a third thing, right? I don't remember what it was. I wanted to try to install all of those things and see which ones seemed more useful. But I think that's probably not a good use of our time. So, and neither is really you watching me read the docs here. If I was actually reading them, maybe it would be. I'm sorry. We should put the music back on. Oh no, it says we dropped 10% of the... That's good. No data. Well, we'll try again next time. I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry about this, folks. but it ain't working. So see you later. Thanks for joining. I don't know how much of this is actually making it through, if anything. We're going to do one more song in case it works.
Sous aucun prétexte, je ne peux avoir de réflexe malheureux. Il faut que tu m'expliques un peu mieux comment te dire adieu. Mon cœur de silex vite prend feu. Ton cœur de pyrex résiste au feu. Je suis bien perplexe, je ne veux me résoudre aux adieux. Je sais bien qu'un ex-amour n'a pas de chance aussi peu. Mais pour moi, une explication vaudrait mieux. Sous aucun prétexte, je ne veux devant toi surexposer mes yeux. Derrière un Kleenex, je saurai mieux comment te dire adieu. Comment te dire adieu. Tu as mis un index, nos nuits blanches, nos matins gris bleus. Mais pour moi, une explication vaudrait mieux. Sous aucun prétexte, je ne veux devant toi surexposer mes yeux. Derrière un Kleenex, je saurai mieux comment te dire adieu. Comment te dire adieu. Oula. Comment te dire adieu. Mais là, sérieusement, je sais pas comment faire sans toi. Comment te dire adieu. Adieu. Oui, adieu.
That was a great song to take us out. Thanks again, Pamplemousse. We'll have a different artist next time, but I'm really glad that we apparently didn't get any copyright strikes. We'll do one more song.
Sous le ciel de Paris s'envole une chanson.